December 7, 1941. It was the last day in history, after which the world map was about to change forever. A disaster was about to strike the US Navy base that no one could have anticipated. An African-American cook named Doris Miller, stationed on a battleship, serves breakfast to Navy officers at sunrise and then gets to work collecting their laundry. At exactly 7:57 a.m., Doris hears a siren. The kind of siren that no sailor ever wants to hear during their service. He immediately rushes outside and is shocked to see the entire sky filled with Japanese bomber aircraft. In the blink of an eye, it's as if doomsday has descended upon the entire naval base. Japanese aircraft begin systematically destroying American ships. This attack was carried out on the US Pearl Harbor base, and today we'll explore why Japan dared to attack a country like America. Why was a cook named Doris Miller awarded America's highest honor? And why did America launch a nuclear attack on Japan? Welcome back, folks. Our interesting story begins in 1941 during World War II, when America put everything on the line to save China. Yes, the very same China that America openly criticizes in 2023. It's quite a turnaround, isn't it? Here's what happened. 3 years into World War II, Germany and Italy were on one side, while Britain, the Netherlands and France were on the other. America wasn't involved in this war at all. The US was completely neutral because after the losses in World War I, America wanted to stay out of the conflicts in Europe and Asia. But there was one country that kept bothering America, and that was Japan. Japan, lacking natural resources, was aggressively occupying neighboring countries to meet its resource demands. Japan had already taken control of large areas in Korea, Taiwan, and China. In the Pacific Ocean, Japan also had its eyes on the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia. But the problem was that Malaysia was a British colony, Indonesia was a Dutch colony, and the Philippines was a neutral American colony. In these countries, Japan's occupation of other lands was considered unacceptable, especially since Hitler, an enemy of Britain and America, was supporting Japan. Concerns were raised not just about Japan's actions, but also about the fact that Hitler was leading the assault, and Hitler was an enemy of Britain and America, which made Japan's actions even more troubling. Observing Japan's actions, America halted its oil supply to Japan in July 1941. Japan itself did not have any oil. It mainly imported its oil from America. Therefore, America made it a condition that Japan must first give up its occupation in China before it would supply oil. This meant that if Japan decided to give up its occupation in China, then it would be able to get oil. This came as a tough decision for Japan. On one side, if it gave up its occupation of China, the world will know that it backed down to America regardless of Hitler's support. On the other side, without oil, Japan's hold would have weakened. Japan resolved not to retreat from China, but secretly it made a plan to invade Indonesia for oil. But this task wasn't as easy as we've already learned. Indonesia was a Dutch colony at the time, and to reach it, it was necessary to first occupy the Philippines, which was an American colony. Japan knew well that if they attacked the Philippines, the retaliation would come from the American naval base at Pearl Harbor. But because Japan's oil reserves were rapidly depleting and they had no other option left but to attack, not the Philippines, but Pearl Harbor instead. Yes, the Japanese military leaders decided to launch a surprise attack on America's Pearl Harbor base to completely destroy the entire base, so that afterward Japan could easily capture the Philippines. Japan was now secretly preparing to attack Pearl Harbor, assembling its fleet, which included 2 battleships, 39 submarines, 30 destroyers, and an astonishing 414 bomber aircraft. These aircraft were sent towards Pearl Harbor via 6 aircraft carriers. On the other hand, if we look at the American forces stationed at Pearl Harbor, they had 8 battleships, 59 anti-aircraft ships, 4 submarines, and 390 aircraft. In theory, the US had sufficient force to repel Japan's attack. However, this would have required advance information about the impending assault. Japan, intent on maintaining absolute secrecy, took extreme measures. The Japanese commander decided to avoid all wireless communication before the attack. The Japanese force, having traveled about 800 kilometers, was now just 370 kilometers from Pearl Harbor. This was the point from which aircraft were launched for the attack. This was about to become the largest attack of World War II, in which America wasn't even involved yet. On the morning of December 7, 1941, at 7:57 a.m., 350 Japanese aircraft descended upon Pearl Harbor in two separate groups. The Americans, completely caught off guard, were utterly devastated. The first group of Japanese aircraft rained down a barrage of fire. They continued their assault on Pearl Harbor for 45 minutes before retreating. Initially, it seemed the attack might be over, but 10 minutes later, a second group of bomber aircraft arrived. They proceeded to destroy what remained of the naval base, raining down destruction. The entire attack lasted for an hour and 15 minutes, during which Japan had the upper hand in every way. 20 American vessels, including 8 battleships and over 300 planes, were destroyed in an instant. The ground was engulfed in flames, and the sky was obscured by thick black smoke. Among those present on one of the American battleships was Dory Miller, an African-American sailor whom we mentioned at the beginning of the video. While collecting laundry, Dory heard a terrifying siren. By the time he made it outside, a Japanese torpedo had struck his ship, injuring many officers, including the captain. Dory single-handedly moved the wounded to safety, then manned an anti-aircraft machine gun and returned fire on the Japanese aircraft. He shot down a total of 6 Japanese planes without any training, while Japan lost a total of 29 aircraft in this attack. Doris Miller was the first African American to be later awarded the Navy Cross. This award is the highest honor in the US Navy and the second highest award in the United States after the Medal of Honor. After the 1 hour and 15-minute attack, the Japanese aircraft retreated, but they had now dragged America into World War II. The same America that wasn't even involved in World War II before this attack decided to teach Japan a lesson the very next day after the attack on Pearl Harbor, and also declared open war against them. For the next 3 months, the US was busy restoring its naval base. Fortunately, many ships were submerged in shallow water and could be repaired. After 4 months, the US attacked Japan in the same way as they had attacked Pearl Harbor. Yes, in April 1942, the US bombed Japan's capital, Tokyo. It was America's first attack in World War II, but after this, America didn't stop. For the next 4 years, a fierce battle continued between Japan and America, in which America now had the upper hand. Japan was very weak in this war, but it was not surrendering at all. It was not giving in to the Americans. Finally, in August 1945, America used its last card against Japan. On August 6, 1945, at 8 a.m., a Boeing B-29 Superfortress aircraft was seen over the city of Hiroshima, Japan. This plane dropped a 4,400 kilograms bomb called Little Boy over Hiroshima. Exactly 43 seconds later, there was a loud explosion and everything turned white. After that, a fireball rose from the ground to the sky, raising the ground temperature to 5 degrees Celsius. This was the first nuclear attack in history, which in just a flash reduced over 80% of all buildings in Hiroshima to rubble. It was as if the ground had slipped from under the feet of the Japanese military leaders. They were still trying to comprehend the situation when 3 days later, on August 9th, America dropped a nuclear bomb on the Japanese city of Nagasaki. This was a Mark III bomb, code-named Fat Man. Weighing 4,670 kilograms, this bomb completely obliterated the entire city as soon as it fell. These were the 2 nuclear bombs that were the first and last bombs to be used on human beings. According to estimates, around 26,000 people were killed in the attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The very next week, Japan surrendered to America, and with that, World War II also came to an end. I hope you all will like and share the video a lot. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next amazing video.